Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special recording of the SWBL podcast, where this year we are going to have all of the SWBL captains of all 9 of our franchise going to be podcasting live here, video cast, and our audio cast as well. We'll put it on National Wiffle so everybody can see it. And I am pleased to be next to, on Zoom call, here my brother Gus Skibbe, the captain of the SWBL Royals. Gus, thanks for joining us for the first captain's interview for season 19. How we doing?
Pretty excited, Sam. Can't wait to divulge into the season 19 with you.
Yes, indeed. And how this is going to work for everybody out there, usually every year in the past, I send an email to all the captains, and it's usually 10 questions that they fill out. And it could be about anything, ranging from some of their favorite, food items to, who's going to win, predictions, talking about their roster, any storylines that happened in the offseason. That's the same thing we're going to do on these podcasts. So we're going to kind of do a little different twist on our captain interviews. So obviously we are starting with, both of our team, the Royals. We have our new Royals hats that our dad got us, with the logo on the side. Exciting stuff. And we are truly excited to get back in the saddle when it comes to the Royals, because last year, Gus, we competed as the Braves, you and I, and we were joined together with Paul Castellano and Steve Hayes. The Royals were struggling for people, with Ty not being able to attend, and a rookie that was not able to attend from out of town that we'll talk about in a little bit. And then the Athletics were struggling to find people, with Alex Heck and Mike Carl seemingly out, and Luke Bakula joining the Marlins. So we played with Paul and Steve, and Paul was an ex-teammate of ours, and we've never played with Steve before. I played with him in the summer league the summer before we were the Braves. Got to know him a little bit more from a teammate perspective. But how was it playing with them? We went 7-3, number 1 seed. I don't know if anybody really expected the number 1 seed out of that team. But how was it playing with Paul and Steve last year in the Braves?
It was a lot of fun. I love playing with Paul, and actually, fun fact, the Royals have had lots of players in and out of their team, but Paul is the only one to ever leave and come back to the Royals. So maybe that's a trend, Spencer or Edlo, if you want to come back. You never know. But it was fun. I actually love playing with Steve too. Steve actually had a lot of clutch hits for us this year, and Paul as well. So it was fun to play with them, and we did well. Unfortunately, we got beat by the hot streak that the Expos put on.
And we put up the most runs against the Expos in the playoffs with 7, but they also put up the most runs they did against myself. And, it leads me to my first little impromptu question to put you on the spot here, Gus. And, it seems like every year that we've played together, we've both been kind of 1-2, the change of the ace, change of the guard, every year it seems like one of us kind of takes the reins as the ace, but it seems like every year you start me in the playoffs, and it's always in a playoff loss that you start me. Is there anything that, every year we say the same thing, that you're pitching no matter what in the playoffs, and then all of a sudden I get hot and you're like, no, we're going with you, and then we lose again? Is there something to be said that next year you're pitching no matter what?
Yeah, probably I'll pitch no matter what. I just don't want that playoff loss on my record. And I know the Royals will never win a championship. So I don't want the loss.
Oh, gotcha. All right. So, and the year before, when the Royals were the last time the Royals played together, when Ty was on our team as well, and we had Corey McCarthy, who ended up winning the National Wiffle Rookie of the Year award within a fantastic year. We have actually never had any rookie win that award. Even the illustrious Ty Butler in his year lost out to Tyler Flackney. They were actually at the same year rookies in their leagues. So Tyler Flackney actually beat out Ty Butler for the National Wiffle Rookie of the Year in that race. But Corey McCarthy was on our team, and the 4 of us went 7-3, and actually were the number 3 seed heading into it. Went to the finals, and obviously lost to the Yankees, who were in our division. So that's the last time that the Royals have played together. So let's break down this year, Gus. And obviously Ty is coming back. It's exciting to have Ty back on the blur. But let's talk about the rest of the roster. Can you kind of break down? We just had the draft recently, so everybody knows that we drafted Leon Cherry. We also drafted him the year prior in 2019, but he couldn't make it. So Leon Cherry is finally coming down, and also the big free agent acquisition of Austin Steffes. So kind of talk about those new additions, and then anybody else on the roster for the Royals.
Yeah. So the Royals are kind of used to having just, they're a 4-player team, and going from there. But I'm actually excited to see what we do with more players. So we have myself, you, Ty, Leon, Austin, our dad,
Yeah.
and Trent Steffes as well. We are excited that the Steffes brothers are coming back. Not only because they're fun, but they can actually bring some good skills to our team and hitting and pitching, from Austin. And then I'm also excited to see Leon and see him perform in the league. And I've heard good things, from his cousin Tyler Flackney and from Ty Butler as well. So I'm excited to see what he can do. So kind of some roles that I'm kind of seeing with our team is, you and I handle the majority of the innings, pitching. Maybe Austin pitches maybe 2 games, and then maybe Ty, Leon, or Kevin, our dad, pitch a few innings or maybe get a game here or there. And then Trent, of course, is our hype man. So excited to have him for the playoffs and on Sunday.
Yeah.
Uh, and in the field, obviously, Ty is a staple in left field, and you and I probably will switch off in right field and pitching. So
Yeah.
our field should be back up there at the top, of the league. And then as hitting goes, we do plan to some bat 5 some games, and I'm excited to see, how that works. I've never batted 5 in my career. Uh, and then me, and Ty basically will be batting every game. And then Austin and Leon will maybe miss a few games hitting. Maybe when Austin's pitching, he'll just focus on pitching. And then we'll probably just bat the best 4 in the playoffs and
Yeah.
roll.
We talk about Austin and how he has grown as a wiffle ball player recently in the past 2 or 3 years. The last time that the Diamondbacks played in the SWBL, he was actually named an All-Star. It was the Diamondbacks' first and only All-Star that ever was selected. Even with great names like Matt Peisert and Jimmy Cole on the team, Austin came away with that. And his last season at the SWBL, on the Blur, was a really good season, unfortunately for a really bad Diamondbacks team, but a really good season. So I'm really interested to see what Austin does with a lineup around him that can get him more at bats. And I played with him at UWIFs, and he also was on our SWBL Cardinals national team. And unfortunately didn't get a lot of playing time at NCAA tournament, based on our roster, but also he got some time at UWIFs, and I got to see him hit, and he's got a good mind for the game. And so I'm sure you're excited to see Austin play. And then, like you said, Leon, he didn't quite get all the cracks he wanted in HRL when he lived up in Minnesota, but it's going to be exciting to see what these two can bring to our team. And like you said, batting 5 will be kind of a new thing for all of us kind of going through it. Yeah. And then, talk about our dad for a second. Trent was the hype man, like you said, and Trent's only going to be there for half the season. We'll talk about our dad too. Obviously, he's going to be vaccinated fully before the season begins. So, if his arm's feeling up to it, is there a specific team you're looking out for that possibly dad could pitch against? Or is it just going to be kind of a feel thing to see where dad can maybe take the mound again?
Dad's is a top pitcher on our team. So, I feel comfortable having him pitch against anybody. Having him pitch that one game before his arm falls off. So, I think I looked at the schedule, maybe probably not maybe a division game, an A game that we have maybe early in the season. I think that'd be fun, and the A's would be fun for him to pitch against too. So,
Yeah.
but any game would work.
Yeah, and that leads us kind of into our next our next topic, Gus, and that is the breaking down our division. And that recently we had the division draw, and the Cardinal Blinds and Shutters division is the one that we fell to. We were in tier 1, so we fell to the Cardinal Blinds and Shutters division. And then right after that, you had the Twins that pulled our number. And when you were watching the division draw, and you see that the Twins, who arguably could be the best team on paper when it comes to 1 through 4 and even 1 through 5, they are kind of the best team on paper when they match up between all the other teams. So were you kind of nervous when that happened, with the Twins, being kind of the best team on the board, so to speak, in that tier? And we got put there, even the comments from Jimmy Nelson and Blake, they were like, well, there goes, the Royals season kind of thing. They were laughing at the Royals getting put together with the Twins. So what was your first reaction when the Twins popped up?
Yeah. And obviously it's a long history of us playing them, and we've
Yeah.
been successful against them, especially in the playoffs of recent. But obviously, in my eyes, they're a top two team. Um,
Yep.
and I think each player on their team contributes. Like you have Corey and Chris, they're elite fielding and they have sneaky good contact hitting, and Spencer and Edlow, they have elite power. And then Will being their top ace, they all have the roles. So
Yeah.
they're going to be a tough beat for sure.
Yeah, and getting to play them twice is always a tough deal. And then if we end up facing them in the playoffs again, if both teams make the playoffs, that's a third time, and it's always hard to beat teams three times. So it's going to be a split series, or one team's going to have the advantage going into the playoffs. But who knows what happens in the playoffs, because we've seen it firsthand. We have played teams twice, like the Athletics of the past. We're going to get to in a second. We beat them twice in the regular season, and then they beat us in the playoffs that year. So, and we'll talk about the Athletics too, and the A's. They are Mike Carl's not coming back. They lost Luke Bacula. We're hoping Mike Carl can come back, next season for the A's. But for this season coming up, he won't be there. Steve and Paul are kind of taking the reins. Alex Heck is hoping to make it to the SWBL season, and they have drafted three rookies that we saw in the draft. Three rookies that we saw. Jordan Smith, who will be playing in the Moith League and also is friends with Keaton Adams as well. So Jordan Smith is joining that team along with Josh Rogers, and then a new guy, Chris Vorbeck, who we do not know a lot about, but Steve talks about as well. So between that team, they have 6 players on their roster. What do you expect from the Athletics this year? Is it going to be a rebuilding year, obviously, without Luke? So talk about the other division foe, the Athletics.
Yeah, and the Royals' history with the Athletics is very on our side. I think, tell me if I'm wrong, we've only lost to them once in our career, which
And,
was in the semifinals
yes, in the
uh,
playoffs. Yep.
when they had that run to the finals and lost, barely lost in the finals.
Sure.
And they have a similar team makeup that they've had in the past. Maybe these rookies can add to their success, but they really need to put some solid, good ABs together to be able to sneak into the playoffs or even get a few wins. So
Yeah.
kind of just uh, depends on if they can string some hits together.
Yeah,
So,
and real fast, we'll talk about the other divisions too. And you look at the other division with the Yankees, Brewers, and the Marlins, and obviously the Marlins coming off an 0-10 season. The Yankees didn't make the playoffs, and the Brewers with a second place finish. The Brewers are really excited about their draw that they received, having a team that didn't make the playoffs and lost John Callaway in the offseason. And then also the Marlins, who went 0-10, and Peter's brother-in-law, obviously the captain of the Marlins. So talk about that. Is there any team that sticks out to you that could win that division, make a run in the playoffs?
and the Yankees always flip flop year to year with being in the playoffs, not in
True.
the playoffs, and it is a odd season. So history says they will make the playoffs, but
And make a run. Yeah.
going to be a dogfight just in general for any team to make the playoffs this year. And I think it's going to be one of the most uh, competitive years in SWBL history. So,
Definitely.
um,
And
I,
go ahead.
yeah, so I don't know who uh, I have to pull. I think the Brewers and Yankees are pretty similar in their skills this year. So we'll see.
Okay. And it leads us to the other division. And this division is probably the most exciting division out of all of them. When this division draw happened, you really could pinpoint any team that could win this division. Obviously, you have the defending champion Expos, who came off of a miraculous run, not losing in 2 days to win their first SWL championship. And then you have the Rockies, who have been the most consistent playoff team in the history of the franchise era, never missing the playoffs. And then you have the Astros, who have their best lineup that they've ever had, ever, with the addition of John Callaway and David Olderman coming back on the mound. Whew. So
Yeah.
this is a division that you're going to look at, and who do you got in this division? Is it going to be, like you said, a dogfight where they're just going to split all these series up, and who knows? None of them. I mean, one of them has got to make the playoffs, but it could be all three, or it could be one that really makes this playoffs.
If they beat up on each other, then yeah, maybe only one will make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the Astros, there's so much hype always each year. It keeps building and building, and one of these years it has to hit.
Yeah.
And I think this might be that year with the roster they have, and especially with Cam and Cole getting more experience, I feel
Yeah.
like it's going to get better. And especially the Expos too. And I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, no way they can repeat. But I 100% think with them having the top two pitchers in the league can definitely repeat. And then who's the other team?
Rockies.
And then the Rockies, always in the playoffs, always in the hunt. So
Yep.
I think it will be a dogfight, and yeah, we'll see. That'll be a fun division to watch.
It definitely will. And we want to thank all of our division sponsors, Ketting Eye Center, for coming back again this year. Been a loyal sponsor. And, I have an appointment over spring break to go to Ketting Eye Center, get my eyes checked out, and possibly even get some rec specs, Gus. I think I'm going to forego glasses and try to get the goggles going on for
Probably gonna make
athletics.
it better.
Yeah. And then we also want to thank Glendale Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. As you know, our father and I, the Royals, are big patrons of Glendale Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, as well as Chris Metter. All three of us have Jeeps from Glendale Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. And then also Cardinal Blinds and Shutters. Right now the blinds are open in this room, but if I close them, they would be Cardinal Blinds and Shutters. Many rooms in our house have Cardinal Blinds and Shutters. So we love all of our division sponsors. Thank you so much for being a division sponsor. Again, we're excited to see who the champions are going to be this year.
Yep.
The schedule also got released a couple weekends ago, Gus. And, the schedule, when it always comes out, it's always exciting. Teams start circling, they start adding in the starters for each team. But there's always a game that's going to maybe turn around a season or help propel you into the next level to get to the playoffs. But is there a specific game on our schedule for season 19 that you believe is the Royals' most important game heading into 2021?
Yeah, and I was looking at the schedule, and I think, and I don't think we've ever had such an important game on a Monday than what I've seen playing the Twins on Monday at 10:15. That is going to be, it's got to be the game that will decide the division. So I think that is definitely the most important game, especially heading into the playoffs and hoping to get possibly that might be a 1-4 seeded game where
Yeah.
you either play wild card or you're going to be the 1 seed. I like to say that it would be, but you never know. But I think that's the important thing. And also, other games. I'm excited to play the Expos again after our loss in the playoffs, and I think that's Saturday night at
For
5.
sure.
So it's always fun to play good competition, and especially the Expos are a newer, good team.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to compete with them again. So yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
good.
And, when the schedule came out and you look at some of those games, that Twins Royals game, that was on purpose, putting that important game on Monday, and a lot of important games on Monday, a lot of important games on opening day, a lot of good storylines opening day. So yeah, I believe that Royals Twins game is going to be must watch wiffle ball. Definitely going to be a live stream performance just to see who might come out on top, because both those teams will be in the hunt for a playoff spot for sure. And that game could be definitely really important. So all right. And Gus, thanks for breaking down the roster for the Royals this year and the divisions and kind of the schedule talk as well. But our next segment, sponsored by Andy's Frozen Custard. Andy's Frozen Custard back again at it. Andy's Frozen Custard was very good to us last year, sponsoring our Summer League and then also sponsoring our All-Star game last year. So we are excited to have Andy's Frozen Custard back this year for SWBL season 19.
So,
And
what's your favorite Andy's topping?
You could say the James Brown Funky Jackhammer is my favorite.
It is good. That's
And
my wife too.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's good and all. Like, and me and our father, like we are really big, just like chocolate milkshake fans. I know it's really boring, but the James Brown Funky Jackhammer is just something that like brings me back to college at Missouri State when we were down there, and like we would go to Andy's, and everybody would get the James Brown Funky Jackhammer. It's just got hot fudge, the peanut butter, the brownie bites. I mean, it's delicious. So it's a good one for sure. A little expensive, but it's for me, it's about the just the chocolate custard. Sometimes doing plain chocolate custard one or just the chocolate milkshake. So any favorites for you?
Uh, Probably just like a typical, Oreo milkshake, Oreo glass,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know, but yeah, Andy's is great, and I'm happy that they are sponsoring us.
Yeah,
So.
and we can't thank them enough. It adds a new element to the league and kind of gives those free custard coupons to our players. On a hot day, they can go remember their time in the SWBL, go get a custard and think about the time they earned that. So thank you again to Andy's Frozen Custard. And Andy's Frozen Custard is going to sponsor our next segment, and that is the rapid fire round. So obviously, the rapid fire down, you can only cool down with an ice concrete from Andy's Frozen Custard. So for the rapid fire questions, I'm going to have a list of about 6, 7, 8 questions or so, and we'll see how you're feeling. And this is no explanation, Gus. This is just for everybody else, the audiences, to listen and to hear, okay, he made that decision, and then it's going to stew in their head. Why did he make that decision? So some of these are random questions. Some of these are about the season. So are you ready to buckle up and get started?
Yes. Can I explain if I want to?
Sure. Maybe just make it a short explanation. This is rapid fire, obviously. If you have, if something comes to your mind, then please, yes, we would love to hear it. But all right, here we go. Start the timer, Andy. No, I'm just kidding. There's nobody here from Andy's Frozen Custard. There's no timer either. There's no time limit. Let's just get started, Gus. First question. Let's make it nice and easy for you. Favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni.
2021 SWBL home run leader from any team. Who's going to lead in home runs?
Blake Spencer.
Blake Spencer coming back. All right, very good. Who is going to be the Royals team MVP this year?
Comeback year, Ty Butler.
Love it. And I'm really hoping he does have that comeback year. Definitely a great player for the Royals franchise. Actually, real quick, I know this was rapid fire, but did you know only 2 players in the history of the SWBL have 2 10-0 seasons, and it is you and Ty. Both Royals teams went 10-0, and only 2 players that have been on both 10-0 squads. Obviously didn't end in the championship, but 10-0, still a great feat to have in the regular season. Yep. If you could trade for any SWBL player on any other franchise, who would it be?
Brett Spencer. Haven't played together since season 3. Won a championship. Be fun to run it back with him.
Speaking of, we need to get a picture of you 2 this year. It's got to be high on the agenda, because right now it's just Brett's mug in the history page, and we need a picture of both of you. All right. And let's, next question. Draft any non-baseball professional athlete to the Royals. Who would you draft? Non-baseball.
Non-baseball. What about if they have like a history? So like I'm thinking like Patrick Mahomes. I know, yeah, but he has a history of baseball. Or even like
no. I'm talking MLB players. He's NFL. You can pick him.
Oh, okay. Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes.
Something like that. Russell Wilson always reminded me of Paul Castellano, and not just because they were small, but just like the good leadership qualities, and running it back. So yeah. Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes even too. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes would be a nice representation for the Royals franchise for sure. He actually owns the part of the franchise for the regular MLB Royals. All right. And next question. Will we have an 0-10 team this year, season 19?
Yes.
All right. Nobody knows which one. Who will be the 2021 SWBL champion?
Got to stick with the previous champion, Expos.
All right. Back-to-back. That would be an enormous feat for the Expos, who never made the playoffs before, and then we're getting back-to-back championships. Definitely can do with that rotation they have, Jimmy and Brett. All right. The next question is kind of a rapid fire. You can think about it for a second, but in the current SWBL Royals roster, if you pick anybody on the roster that you want to start, somebody you're going to bench, and somebody you're going to trade. So kind of like that, the marry, kill, all that kind of stuff. But instead, it's baseball, wiffle ball related. Start, bench, or trade with your own roster.
Start, Sam, my brother. I would bench our father, because
oh, poor guy.
Probably will have too many cigars. I'll maybe bench Ty as well, because he might have too many cigars as well.
And trade.
And I would trade you right before the playoffs, so I don't pitch you.
And you might get a nice return for me. Who knows if I'm doing well throughout the season. So you might get a nice return before playoffs.
Trade you right before playoffs.
Yeah, trade me for Brett, like you want Brett on your team. That
Oh,
way, that you have, you have the pitcher there. All right. So now, thank you guys for going through that, and thank you to Andy Frozen Custard for once again being our sponsor for this year, back-to-back years with Andy Frozen Custard. So thank you so much. And we're going to kind of wrap it up here, Gus. You know, I got one more thing we can talk about as we go along, and then I'll kind of turn you loose, and you can talk about anything that you would like to. But season 19 is coming up this year, but I can't believe it, and I'm sure you can't believe it either. But next year is going to be SWBL season 20. You know, this is actually the 10th year of the franchise era. This is actually the 10th year of the franchise era. So we played an entire decade after this year in the franchise era. And obviously the franchise era will be continuing on Memorial Day weekend. Season 20, obviously, you know, the biggest draw to me is going to be, hopefully there are no restrictions due to COVID. Everybody's vaccinated. Everybody's got the immunity, you know, built up around the country. But we hope that those things will happen this year. Notoriously, you know, porta potty and pool will probably be closed again this year. But, you know, season 20 is going to be a big party, big shebang. But what are you looking forward to, not just in season 19, but looking to the future? What are you looking forward to season 20 and beyond for this league?
Yeah, and there's been lots of talk around the league of, big changes, changes in a good way, like maybe different team makeups or different teams, maybe more teams. So there's new events, and there's going to be lots of announcements, as we know, us being part of the front office.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say any spoilers, but it's going to be a really good change for the league. And I think season 20 will mark a different chapter in the franchise era. So.
Yeah, and it's going to be an exciting one, and I truly can't believe that we've been playing this game for this long. Many of us can say, many of the old, you know, players of the past, you know, me, you, Peter, Brett, we can say we've been playing this game for over half of our lives, and that's insane to me. You know, more than half of our lives we've been playing this game. I'm heading into my 18th season this year, and next year will be my 19th during season 20. So it's just crazy that basically 2 decades of wiffle ball we've all been playing. And so we're excited to have season 20, and we're hoping to make it the biggest and the best weekend we've ever had. Obviously, with all the restrictions lifted, it's going to be really exciting. So, Gus, thank you so much for joining us for our first ever captain's interview for season 19. And it's not on the email anymore. It's not paper. We get to see your face and hear your answers too. But is there anything else you want to say to the people out there? Anything else you want to say about the Royals? Any other teams, division predictions you want to make? Anything else?
No, I think it's gonna be fun to see friends I haven't seen in 8 months. It'll be fun to spend a weekend with you, and I love you, and I'm excited for the year.
Love you too. And we're so excited. You know, vaccinations are starting to happen. We're hoping that many of our SWO players keep themselves safe and get them vaccinated. We're excited that our family is going to be vaccinated. You know, I got my first vaccination yesterday. My arm is killing me. So it is really exciting to get all this stuff going and get people back on the blur for another great weekend for Memorial Day weekend. So guys, thanks for joining us. And we will see you guys next time for our next SWBL captain's interview with Captain Scott Poley of the SWBL Yankees. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. See you.
Thanks, man.